What evil wakes within the Flashpoint universe, and what could it mean for the rest of the DC multiverse? Well, let's hop into the pages of Flashpoint Beyond issue number 0, the kickoff to a brand new Geoff Johns storyline, and find out together, shall we? So then, as we join the book, we check on in with Batman. Please don't ask me which Batman from which universe or which timeline, because honestly, if I had to guess, I would say even Johns himself isn't 100% sure what Batman he's writing anymore. It seems that the Caped Crusader is in some sort of strange subterranean bunker, one filled with ticking clocks covered in blood, a clear allusion to the Doomsday Clock storyline, pictures of an old family, as well as a ton of artifacts from across time. Batman's not alone either, as he is joined by Marionette and Mime, Geoff Johns' own original Watchmen universe characters from Doomsday Clock. You'll remember that their son had been taken away to become the Superman-style hero that the Watchmen universe always needed, but they've had another kid too, a daughter no less. And despite being crazy criminals, even they think what Batman's doing now is completely nuts. They think he's come to this place now looking for Janie Slater's watch. Slater, you'll remember, was the ex-girlfriend of the man who would become Dr. Manhattan, but no, Batman instead ends up leaving with a snow globe. All throughout this base of operations too, we see chalkboards covered in strange cryptic writing talking about things like 5G being averted, Deathstroke not being Deathstroke, that Superman and someone named Sally need to be defended, but perhaps the most pressing message of all is one that says Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, will die. But where is Thomas Wayne right now? You may have seen him last over in the pages of Joshua Williamson's Justice League Incarnate. He was hit by Darkseid's Omega Sanction. And as we pick up with Thomas Wayne now, he wakes up back in the Flashpoint universe. His loyal toady, Oswald Cobblepot, tries to wake him up for a meeting he's supposed to have with District Attorney Harvey Dent, who is all fire and brimstone right now following the death of his daughter. It seems that she killed herself after a run-in with this universe's Joker, who is of course Martha Wayne, and now because of that, Harvey is blaming Thomas. Harvey's wife Gilda was so gutted by this death she was committed to Arkham Asylum, and now for some reason all she wants to do is talk to Thomas. And if Dr. Wayne doesn't agree to do so, Harvey says he will use the full power of his office to make sure that Thomas gets sent to jail for all the crimes that they know he's committed already. As you might have guessed, Thomas is incredibly confused right now. He thought he fixed his world, him and Barry, back during the events of the original Flashpoint. Then he got kidnapped from his universe by the Reverse Flash. Oh yes, Johns is sure to reference the Reverse Flash, but not Dr. Manhattan in a story that already references Watchmen. How about that? Then he tried to get his son to stop being Batman as part of a ridiculous scheme over in the Tom King book that he fully regrets. Ah yes, Johns is back in just enough time to start dunking on the King book himself. And then he started hanging out with Justice League Incarnate and learning to be a better man and redeeming himself for past sins, but now he is here back in the Flashpoint universe again, and it definitely is his Earth too, not just an alternate reality that looks like it. All of this means that someone somewhere out there must have changed things, and things have definitely changed for the Flashpoint universe. We hear via Wesley Dodd the Sandman that King Aquaman has either won or is winning the war against the Themyscirans right now. But also, certain characters who died in Flashpoint are still alive now, like Abin Sur and Cyborg. Even Superman is slightly different now. Apparently he managed to escape the bunker, and now people are terrified of him and his amazing power, thinking it's only a matter of time before his alien race, the Kryptonians, come to conquer Earth. Understandably, Thomas thinks he's going quite mad, and back in the Batcave, more cryptic messages are left behind for him. This one particular message is going to seem quite familiar to you. Everything matters. Which, if you remember, was a phrase bandied about both by Scott Snyder and his story Death Metal, the last big DC Crisis event. Only, hey, get this, Thomas thinks the sentiment that everything matters is absolute bullshit and that Thawne is only messing with him again, so he knocks the sign over. Ooh boy. Now you're probably thinking, if everything is slightly different in this Flashpoint universe, then what about the Barry Allen of this Earth? Well, he's still a CSI tech living a happy if ultimately dead-end existence, and currently him and his fellow officers are on the trail of someone called the Clockwork Killer, a serial killer who we can see from the newspaper has already murdered Abracadabra, Kronos, and a few other time time-traveling heroes and villains from across DC lore. Thomas, feeling that Barry is the only person who can possibly understand what's going on with him right now, ambushes him in his apartment, and then pretty much story dumps the entirety of the original Flashpoint event right on him. Naturally, this Barry thinks that Thomas Wayne is completely out of his mind and a murderous criminal to boot, which means the Doctor has to give him a mild sedative so he can kidnap him and take him back to Gotham. Here, Thomas once again plans to recreate the accident that gave Barry Allen his super speed powers in the first place, and I mean, hey, it worked for him back in the original Flashpoint, so it should work again, right? Once Barry gets his powers back, he'll realize that he's the Flash and that this world has to be wrong. This experiment probably would have worked too were it not for a sniper bullet messing with the machine at the last second, meaning that poor Barry gets himself burnt to death. Oh, but it gets so much worse too. The same sniper also ends up taking out the car that had Harvey Dent and his son in it, killing the district attorney. Luckily, Thomas is able to swoop on in and save Dexter Dent from getting burned up in the same car as his father. Thomas then apprehends the shooter, who would seem to be as some new Flashpoint version of Black Manta, a surface-dwelling ally to the Atlanteans. We know he's Black Manta too because he has a black diving suit on and speaks with a weird speech impediment, which I'm pretty sure Golden Age Black Manta, that was part of his origin. Now, instead of asking the obvious question of who are you, who sent you, and why did you know to do all of that, instead they end up having a completely different conversation about how good it feels to kill, and that Black Manta and Batman are ultimately the same because they don't care who they hurt, they like it. Manta even asks Thomas when was the last time he saw a child die, which gives him a flashback to Bruce dying in the alley and causes Thomas to end up killing Manta. Well, geez, so much for using your son's tactics and being the sort of Batman he would want you to be, huh? As the comic ends, we check back on in with the Batman from the beginning of the story as a mysterious individual derides him for all of his recent choices, saying that he's really stepped in it this time, and that he was perhaps never supposed to see those files that he stole from the beginning of the issue. We get a better look at them, and they seem to talk about something called the Divine Continuum, a branching tree theory that ties together several different overarching DC continuity types. You got the Omniverse, the multiverse, the dark multiverse, hypertime. And why, yes, the initials of Divine Continuum really do spell out DC. Now, who is the other person who's deriding Batman in his own cave right now? Well, it's revealed to be Corky Baxter. Oh yes, you all know Corky Baxter, don't you? One of DC's Timemasters, a group of time-traveling heroes put together by Rip Hunter. A character who you probably only know at all because he was on TV for a little bit or because he's Booster Gold's father. Yes, well, the Timemasters are mad at both Batman and his father right now, but to find out what happens next, we'll have to pick up the next issue. And so that was Flashpoint Beyond issue number 0, and oh boy was there a lot to take in on this one. While I was certainly never bored with the material, I'd be lying if I said this wasn't probably the angriest I've seen Geoff Johns writing maybe ever. It's hard not to read this story in a meta way, like this is a man saying, I used to be your boss, I used to have a story that I wanted to tell, but I never got to tell it, and now I finally am, and damn everything that's happened between then and now. Which feels incredibly weird to me, because even if Geoff Johns did get to tell this whole story here that's a sequel to Flashpoint, wherein he gets to reorder the DC universe however he likes it, it's ultimately not gonna matter, right? Because Dark Crisis is right around the corner, and Joshua Williamson is gonna get to reorder the universe. Heck, he basically already did that in Infinite Frontier. Also, as far as a character piece for Thomas Wayne goes, I cannot help but feel but this story actually regresses him quite a lot. In Justice League Incarnate, we saw a guy desperately looking for redemption and one who may actually have been able to find it, but here it seems that John goes out of his way to set him all the way back to zero. Like he refused to write any version of the character that wasn't his own original creation. In fact, even just the idea of giving Flashpoint a sequel seems so weird when you know the history of it. It was never supposed to be this big crisis level event. Johns had come up with it as just another part of his bigger Flash run. It was only later when editorial got involved did it become what it became. Well, I definitely plan to keep up with this series and see where it goes. I am ultimately a little wary after just one issue, which is why I can really only give it a 7.5 out of 10. Hey there everyone, Kate Joel again, and I just want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means a lot to me. And hey, if you enjoyed the book I covered in this issue and want some comics of your own, might I recommend Book Depository? It's my #1 place for shopping for comic book trades. You get a great price, and if you use my link down in the description, you'll actually be helping me out at the same time. You get something, I get something, everybody wins, right? So until next time everyone, I've been Joel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.